Hey there, I'm Mr. Terry, a high school history teacher. Welcome back to another History Teacher Reacts video. All right, we're back with checking out another compilation of Philomena Cunk. Now, I'm bringing this back to you because I covered it for the first time last week, and that video did really well, telling me that you all would like to see more. It was a blast to check that out. I was laughing my butt off. It was one of the funniest videos I've ever commented on. And it was fun to be able to chime in with history-related stuff to talk about what she was talking about or what the experts were talking about. So I feel this is like a perfect match for me and what I like to do on here, which is have fun and talk history. So I've got the sequel to that video. Now, the original video is going to be down below, so make sure you're supporting the compilation there. And I'll make sure to link the first reaction video I did to Philomena underneath, and it'll also be linked in the closing credits. All right, let's get started. All right, here we go. Okay, already this guy looks flabbergasted.
Economists think that they can build.
Let's go, girls. Shania Twain.
Sorry about that.
So this was a
Shania Twain ringtone comes in while it was perfect timing because the guy was like talking about some important historical economic thing. that was
very
good.
popular one, which you go like this.
Music.
My old man said, follow the line and don't dilly-dally on the way. That sort of rhythm was very popular.
So why was that considered entertaining? Why did they fire shells at each other? Because shells wouldn't really hurt, would they? Unless they were those razor clam shells, because they're quite sharp, aren't they?
Well, these weren't seashells.
If Shelley's one...
Wrong shells, Philomena, right? Talk about World War I or World War II firing shells. I love how she'll that's kind of her thing, is just like wordplay, how she'll take some historical thing and then, you know, use some other definition of it. It's great.
Shells, because they're quite sharp, aren't they?
Well, these weren't seashells.
If Shelley's one of the greatest poets in English literature, how come nobody gives a shit about him today?
That's a complicated question.
See, what I like is when he does that, she'll do that, she'll like downplay some historical figure, and you could tell the guy or woman or whoever they're talking to is so pained by that, because they're like, oh, I've devoted my life to this. Like, that person probably studied their whole life to were they talking about Mary Shelley or something like that? And just like, oh my gosh, how could you not say that? I saw that before with like, in the last video where I was talking about like Beethoven and, who else was like Shakespeare, and they just were so internally about to rage.
Austen wrote novels, which are books, which look like this on the outside and this on the inside, filled with words it's almost impossible to care about. Queen Victoria was born in 1819, in the usual way, out of a woman. It was hard to tell that this infant would grow up to be queen, because her crown hadn't yet formed. It was just hair, which must have been a relief to her mother as she was pushing her out. Thanks to the big sell-off, anyone could get rich, providing they had loads of spare money already, a system still in use to this day.
Capitalism! Gotta start with money to make money, all right.
Do you want to turn a pig into a cow?
Just see what it's like. Since his Victorian origins,
Yeah, what's the context
Sherlock
there?
Holmes himself has regenerated many times and in many different forms throughout history. From drawings, to black and white man, to a black and white man in colour, into a cricketer, and even an alien. Who was the...
Dude, Benedict is kind of odd looking. He's kind of odd looking, you know what I mean? But that went a little bit too far because he's also amazing. He did a really good job playing Sherlock, I thought.
Darth Vader of the Empire? Was it Queen Victoria?
Probably.
You probably wouldn't have had anyone quite as powerful as Darth Vader, as, if you like, a supreme leader.
Victoria's pretty
What
close.
about Luke Skywalker?
I mean, it's like Victoria like represents like the height of the British Empire, you know, there in the 1800s. So she's probably about as close as they can.
I think many people would have liked
What she
like
said?
a supreme leader.
What about Luke Skywalker?
I think many people would have liked to have undertaken a Skywalker-like role as a savior, but there probably weren't too many of those around.
Chewbacca?
No, I think that's stretching it.
He was one of the greatest...
I like that. I like that guy in the first one because he would play on the jokes. The one like where she was crying about atomic bombs and she was like trying to break the sadness by like, do you like ABBA? And he's like, I love ABBA. I love that one. That was one of my favorite jokes.
Greatest of all time. And some of the phrases he used still resonate today, such as finest hour, never surrender, and of course, we shall fight them bitches. Hello, who are you?
Actual quote from
I'm
Churchill.
Doran Swade. I'm an historian of computing, and I was responsible for building this engine.
Okay, this is the most British looking guy I've ever seen. This is like King Charles, the guy you see down at the coffee house drinking tea. This is every old British guy.
So what games does it have?
It doesn't have any games.
It must have like some basic games like
Yeah,
Mario
Snake or
Kart or Snake or
I'm afraid
or
not.
Patience, like the shittest one. It must have Patience.
I'm afraid it doesn't.
It doesn't have many games.
None whatever. It just does mathematical calculation.
I'll choose important.
So it's not significant.
Oh, wait.
So it's not significant.
Whatever. It just
Breaks, he
does
breaks it.
mathematical
Okay, whatever.
calculation.
I noticed they don't show that a lot where they actually will laugh.
I'll choose important.
So it's not significant.
Archery? It's not important.
Who's
it's not
Ron?
significant.
Ron. Is there a Ron?
Yeah, the one that wrote all the poems and signed them by Ron.
Yeah, that was his family name, Byron. Lord George Byron.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Jane Austen died in 1817, only to be reincarnated 200 years later in the form of this banknote. The Victorians had horse-drawn buses, but you never see horses drawing anything these days, do you? When did they lose the ability to draw? Is it when they're...
Drawn like horse drawn, like horses drawing a picture. It took her, you could tell she had no idea what was going on.
hands sort of turned into hooves. On his journey, he visited the Noel Gallagher's Islands and came up with a theory that animals that were dead were less likely to reproduce than ones that were alive.
Breakthrough research.
The first Sherlock Holmes story was such a hit.
I believe nobody
Conan
knew that.
Doyle wrote 55 sequels, which is 4 more than The Fast and the Furious. Although in the Sherlock Holmes
They're up
stories,
to that
some
almost.
stuff happens that isn't skidding. Eventually, Darwin...
That isn't skidding. We are pretty close to that. How many? I just saw a movie where it had the next Fast and the Furious. They're like past 10 now, right? All right. What about Darwin?
Although in the Sherlock Holmes stories, some stuff happens that isn't skidding. Eventually, Darwin evolved himself into a corpse. He was buried here in Westminster Abbey before evolving again into worms and dust. Why did they call World War I? It's quite pessimistic numbering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or did they just know it was the start of a franchise?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't even know if Jack the Ripper was his real name.
Classic joke.
Or just a nickname, like 50 Cent. We don't know when he died or if he died. It's chilling to think that Jack the Ripper could still be alive today, living somewhere out there under his real name. Maybe he's one of your friends or neighbours. Or maybe he's you. Which was...
Could I be him? I'd have to be like 150 by now, right? Is it you? You're gonna need to, y'all, everyone watching this is gonna need to prove to me they're not Jack the Ripper. Let me know down below. I'm gonna need some solid proof though.
What's your favourite of the romantics?
Probably Byron, I would think.
Ron?
Byron was the bad boy
Ron?
of the romantic poets. It's thought that he probably slept with his sister and with most other women in England.
He was your favourite?
Yeah.
The one who slept with his sister?
Well, it's not on that basis that
Get him.
I like him. I was just giving
Get
you a
him,
bit of
Philomena.
background.
Emmerdale...
Get him. That was perfect for her to say that, you know, like, because I doubt she would know that he would have said necessarily that, you know, that you know, he was with all these women, including his sister. That was a good job by, I found out her name's Diane Morgan, the actress. Found that in between because I thought the first video was all awesome. I was doing some research on her and stuff and looking at her, but yeah, that was good because it showed that with her, like, it wasn't just about like the funny questions, but she could turn some comedy into their responses, unscripted, you know. That was good. All right.
It's not on that basis that I like him. I was just giving you a bit of background.
Emmerdale Pankhurst thought women could be more than just wives and mothers, so she deliberately only had 5 children, leaving her loads of time for politics. Radio was an exciting new invention that made it possible to hear other people's voices in your living room without the use of thin walls or a devastating mental condition. Eventually, women did get the vote after the next bit of history, but I can't skip past the next bit because the next bit is war, and men will find that interesting.
Along the way, I'll be shouting at hell.
Not lying. I mean, in my community and stuff, all the war buffs, they seem to be guys. You know what I mean? But a lot, most of them, right?
Helicopter.
All right, what's she yelling at here?
Interesting.
Along the way, I'll be shouting at helicopters.
Is that Cliffs of Dover? I think that was, right? But yelling at helicopters, that was good.
First World War was started by the killing of one man, Franz Ferdinand. You've probably never heard of him, or the band named after him, but he was dead important, by which I mean he was only important when he was dead.
True.
Luckily.
Well, okay. He was going to be the heir to the okay, it'll be fair to Mr. Ferdinand. He was heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, okay, assassinated because he was the heir by, those Bosnian nationalists that assassinated him, wanting freedom from the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but he was going to be a very influential figure, but not enough.
Hey, a man called, by which I mean he was only important when he was dead.
There's no way he could have been bigger in whatever his reign would have been than what followed after him, which is, the lead up to World War I and then all the effects after that.
Luckily, a man called John Logie Baird was about to give birth to television. Not literally out of his vagina, but metaphorically out of his shed. Inspector Phillips.
Hey, this had come to mind. I heard, and help me out with this, you guys, that some of the technology used for early space travel was also used in creation of television or television broadcasts. Anyone got that backing up? That came to my mind, and I've heard that, but I've never really gone researched it. But that space travel. And that's one of the things people talk about with the space race. Also was responsible for giving a lot of new technologies that end up being used by civilians. But
what is Inspector Phillips?
Shed. Inspector Phillips.
What is Inspector Phillips?
Yeah,
I made that one up. That was just a trick question.
Okay, well, it didn't work.
Sounds real though, doesn't it?
See, that would be funny if you brought up some, to see if any of these historians are full of crap, just make something up and be like, don't you think blank was really important, some event or something like that, and see if they'll actually own up.
Inspector Phillips.
No, I instantly knew that it wasn't a real one.
Less successful with the Suez Crisis.
What was up with the Suez? Did someone try to flush something that was awful?
No, the Suez Canal.
Suez Canal.
What? The canals used to be sewers? That's disgusting.
No, Suez. It's a place.
All right.
Suez. That was good because Suez Crisis or Suez Canal from the Suez Crisis in Egypt. That was great, just playing on the words. By the way, some history if you're looking for some of that Suez Crisis. When Egypt was kind of transitioning away from their colonized era, they tried to take over their own resources, right? And maybe the biggest resource, the profitable resource out of Egypt was the Suez Canal, which was built back in the 1800s, but was financed by foreign investors. And when Egypt was trying to nationalize their industries, and that, of course, being one of them. So anyways, you get that, and the nationalization of that led to Britain, for example, who had a stake in that, trying to keep them from doing that, and actually brought in a little conflict called the Suez Canal, but it was successful because now, and then because Egypt is going to be able to take the Suez Canal, and that makes an incredible amount of money, as some huge percentage of all global traffic goes through the Suez Canal, even today.
Luckily, Britain had a hero on its side, a man whose name will never be forgotten, Winston Churchill. In the war, there were lots of songs taking the piss out of Hitler, weren't there? How come they don't sing those sorts of songs anymore?
Yeah.
Well, he's not around anymore, so it's not so amusing.
Where is he?
Well, he's dead.
He's dead?
Yes.
Oh, right, so it'd be disrespectful to...
Well, not so much disrespectful.
We can't say Hitler songs, Hitler success songs, because of it would be disrespectful. She's trying to get him on that. That was brilliant.
It was pointless, really.
Pointless.
A bit pointless.
Yeah. What
Pretty
made
good
the war
response by him.
harder was that we didn't know what the Germans were planning, because they said it in a sort of code language known as German. And also, walking somewhere impressive with my mouth shut, while my voice speaks anyway, like I'm talking aloud in my own head. During this Suez Crisis, events in Suez reached crisis point. More research needed. Make sure script amended before voiceover record. But Heath soon found himself facing a financial crisis, the likes of which the world only sees about every 10 years or so.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there a mini...
Exactly. Every 10 years. I love her, like, pessimistic comments. Those are some of the funny... She's very cynical, and I like that.
Skirt for men, you know, like about every 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Was there a mini skirt for men? You know, like trousers that just stopped under the balls?
No, there wasn't a miniskirt for men.
That seems like a shame.
For whom?
For men. On my Odyssey, I'll be starting sentences in one location
and finishing them in another.
Classic editing. All right. Final thoughts. All right, another awesome compilation here from Dan Morgan's Philomena Cunk character. Just again, the humor, the level of humor, and like the style of it is so funny. I was telling you how Frankie, no, not all that. All right, that was awesome to see another Philomena Cunk compilation. I just love the style. It's something that I was telling in the first video, something I had an idea that would be funny to do if I ever could get around to like doing that kind of filmmaking. This kind of like cynical kind of approach to history. I always thought that'd be funny, and she's of course gonna doing it way better than I ever could. But that was great, and thank you all for watching. It really looked like a lot of you liked it. That's why I made the second video. I'll again link about right now. Posting up around me will be a link to the previous one I did. If there's more of Philomena stuff, like other famous history related jokes and all that stuff, let me know where I can find some stuff, and I'll definitely look into it. The original video link again is down below. Make sure you support that, and if you like this, hit the sub button, and I'll try to get more of this your way. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.